Good evening. This is the Marion regular city council meeting, Thursday, November 19th. It is now 5:30 p.m. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. Anyone with your cover, please remove it. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Ms. Pazor.
Here.
Ms. Etzel. Mr. Spinks.
Present.
Mayor Buska.
Present.
Mr. Brandt.
Here.
Mr. Abalosly.
Here.
Mr. Draper.
Here.
And now Councilman Spinks with a moment of silence, please.
Yeah, if you would pause for a minute. Thank you.
At this time, do we have any citizens with a presentation, comment, and or petitions of anything that is not listed in this evening's presentation? Raise your hand and be called. We have a lady in the back, please.
Susan Kling, 2790 Brandon Court. I'm here to give a brief update on the library tonight. We held our last design charrette with our architect last Wednesday with about 40 people present. We hope to have schematic designs and cost estimates by the end of December or early January. As soon as we get those, we'll be bringing those to you. We will be posting the library director job announcement in the next few days. Our search committee is in place, and I'd like to thank Councilman Will Brandt for agreeing to serve on that committee with us. We'll be reviewing the applications and meeting together to select 3 to 4 finalists that we will bring on site February 8th and 9th for the public to meet and for the final interviews. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak? Sir?
Does it have to pertain to an issue that's not on here?
This is not on tonight's issue. I mean, if we'll address tonight's issue later if that's the case. There was someone else. Sir. Okay. Is that what he was talking about?
Yeah, but it's on the agenda.
Oh, it is? Yeah.
My name is Charles Knutson. I live at 2835 24th Avenue, Marion, Iowa. What I'd like to speak to is city code as to how elections are held. And I would like to make a request that the city council review how council wards are elected. Presently, everybody in the city gets to vote for a person, and I congratulate you on your election, but everybody in the city gets to vote for everybody, and I don't think that's right. If you have a ward representative, it should be only being voted on by the people in the ward. And the other thing on the city election I'd like to see happen is that the mayor, when they're elected, that our mayor has to have 50% plus 1 of the vote. If that doesn't occur, then we have to have another runoff election. Thank you.
Why don't you let him
Yeah,
speak?
sir.
Since he opened that up.
Did you want to speak on that subject, sir?
I wanted to speak on whether or not you're going to have a special election or an appointment for Ward 4.
Well, why don't you go ahead and state that, sir?
All right.
He can't open the door.
My name is David Sheets. My wife and I live at 4065 Brookside Drive. I'd like to thank Councilman Spinks, and I'm going to get your name, mispronounce it, but I would like to thank you for responding to my emails earlier today. Abu Asali.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
I think that because of the fact that I believe there's going to be a special election on the issue of the library sometime in the spring, that the Ward 4 vacancy should be filled via special election at that time. From what I understand, there's at least 2, if not more, interested persons in that position. And I think the community as a whole should get a chance to vote on those people. And I will reiterate that if there's already going to be an election, this might as well be included in with it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else in the audience before we start? Oh, yes, go ahead, sir.
Howdy, my name is Taylor Nelson, 7707 Hampshire Court, Northeast Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I was hoping to receive and file a document that should be in front of you about the Granger House. I'm currently on the board of directors. There's a group of us, as you can see, that are worried about the possible use of hotel-motel money, how things have all played out. You may be aware or not aware that there's some contentious situations going on that board, but at the same time, the members listed, which includes myself, we simply cannot get answers to simple questions. And one of the financial questions has been the use of hotel-motel money. So we feel that one of the only steps that we really have left is to go to you and to say, would you be willing to possibly just look into this to see how the hotel-motel money has been used, if it has been used? Because these are simple questions that we've asked and we haven't gotten any simple answers or any answers at all. The Granger House has had a long history with the city of Marion in many ways, and we've worked together in so many different aspects. And we want to make sure that the Granger House continues to succeed. At the same time, we need to make sure that everything's being done above board and responsibly. And so we're just coming to you and hoping that you would receive and file this, and if able to, move on that. And I can take questions. I don't know if I'm allowed to. So.
I have a question. What is the difference between the executive committee and the board of directors?
The executive committee are members of the board of directors that were appointed by the other board of directors.
Which is my confusion.
Right. And to quote another person on the board, they've, in a sense, the opinion is they've gone rogue. And so the reason why we decided to receive and file this rather than just put it on the agenda is because tonight we have a meeting at 6:30. And I know this meeting is probably going to go long because the parking situation, there's a lot of people here on behalf of that. So we have to be able to go to that meeting. We're going to have kind of, in a sense, the Coming to Jesus meeting. And it's all laid out. We've been laying it out for months. We've been saying this needs to happen, this. Nothing has happened. There's been so many things that have happened in the last month that it's made board members get to the point of feeling like they need to resign. And we don't want to resign because we love the house, we love the history, we love the community. But at the exact same time, with the lack of transparency on simple issues with finances and hotel-motel, we don't know if we can be a part of an organization that handles itself in that manner. So we come to you in the manner of the hotel-motel money to see if you'd be able to review, to look in to see if that money's been used, if it has been used, what it's been used for. If it hasn't been used, good. Just figure out what's going on.
Do we have the ability to follow up on use of hotel-motel lawn?
Yeah, as part of the hotel-motel application, they have to provide documentation about what it's supposed to go for, report that back to us the following year, and then also certify that they're going to use it for the purposes that were included in their application. I don't know in this case if we have written the check for this year or not, because they were successfully applied for hotel-motel money out of this fiscal year. If that was the council's will, we could ask for verification on those expenditures before we would issue another check.
That might be good policy across the board, I think. Anybody that gets hotel-motel funds should,
as part of the application process, they have to show us
that they've used it for what they said they'd use it for.
And the reason that we're approaching this manner is because you would normally have that process. It would happen later. But we're asking for it to happen sooner than later because of the things that have happened on the board and just decisions that have been made without the without following in some sense of our bylaws and of our guidelines of how to run our organization. There's just been so many things that have happened. They've terminated someone, and they said it is for financial reasons. And then when we ask to see the finances of where the financial reasons have come from, they do not give them to us. So it's, as you can probably tell, imagine yourself in a position of myself or any of these other board members that you see here. And what are we supposed to do? We want to make sure that everything's running properly, that everything is okay. At the exact same time, we want to be responsible with the funds because it's a privilege to be able to receive hotel motel money. And so we would just want to make sure that everything's okay. That's why we're asking you at this time to look into it.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I have something to say. I've served on that board as well as the Heritage Center, and there's a recent divorce of those two organizations that wasn't too friendly of a divorce, and I would like to move forward with an audit of the hotel motel tax money on both organizations because they're so intermingled at this point and getting undone. I think it would be helpful for both organizations and us to know exactly how the funds are being used and if they're being used for the purpose they were asked for. And so I was the one who, we cut both organizations back a little bit this year, and I was the one who had recommended if we have any overage that we think of those two organizations first to bring them up. And I want to be the first to ask Lon to move forward with something this council can look at and asking for an audit of the books of both organizations.
Before we do that, I don't believe it's on the agenda, but I'd like to ask to receive and file this correspondence from Mr. Nelson.
Second.
Motion is made and second. Discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Yeah,
Now, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Paul that after reading this and talking with Taylor, that I think we ought to proceed with both.
What's the power of the city to audit these? They're not city organizations, correct?
They're not city organizations, but we're because of the certification they have to sign for being eligible to receive the hotel motel tax. We're within our rights to ask for independent verification that the funds were used correctly.
Just as to the funds they're getting from the city, but
right,
not
we
an
wouldn't
audit
be
of
able to
their
do a
books.
full audit
Right.
or anything
Right.
like that, but we'd be able to verify.
I'm referring to an audit of the hotel motel tax.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Just to be clear on that.
Yeah.
So that would not include memberships that are
Private
bought.
donations, any memberships, anything like that, we would not be able to see. Just those expenses that were related to use of hotel motel funds.
And this is not something that comes easy as any of us on the board. I mean, we love the organization. We love the history that's tied to it. So
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I'll say, do we have a second, or what do we have here?
Yeah. Well,
Do we have a motion?
For what?
I think Paul had the motion.
Okay.
And I second it.
They're good. Fine. Discussion.
I know that Taylor mentioned that it was the director that got fired, Julie. What's her?
Kathy Wilson.
What?
Wilson?
Wilkins?
Wilson? Kathy Wilson.
Wilson, yeah. That she got fired because of this, they said, lack of funds. So that was the reasoning. So I think there's something that needs to be looked at.
What I know that the two organizations were split.
That's right.
And into their own entity, but why? Because it would make a lot more sense since they're historical and they're receiving, and why, well, I don't understand.
I don't either.
Aha.
They could get along.
Some of the items that he's bringing up are the reason. That's all I can wish to say, but there was a reason. That's why I'd like to include both of them in looking at.
Okay, so we'll vote on a audit of the hotel motel for both Granger House and
Yep. That was his motion.
Heritage Center.
the Heritage House. Is that correct? Right.
Yes.
Right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. And we'll move on now to the consent calendar. Councilman Etzel, please.
Motion to approve consent calendar as presented, including items 1 through 25 and resolutions 24957 through 24970.
Second?
Motion is made and second for the consent calendar discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the second part of the consent calendar, Councilman Spinks.
Yes, this is a motion to approve the consent calendar with Councilmember Abalosly abstention. Resolution 24971 and item 27, including Section A, that is 24972.
Motion is made and second for the consent calendar discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Abstain.
Thank you. And moving on now, we have a public hearing regarding the perpetual utility overhang easement with Interstate Power and Light Company located on a portion of Lot B, Legion Park Addition of Marion, Iowa, for the right, privilege, and authority to construct, reconstruct, maintain, operate, repair, patrol, and remove electrical and telecommunication lines. Parks, could you reiterate that, please?
Sure. Yep. The city would be providing an overhang easement to Interstate Power and Light, which is Alliant Energy, for the purpose of installing electrical and communication lines on poles that would be supplied by ITC Midwest. The easement area, as the mayor said, is Lot B, Legion Park, which would be west of Creekview Court off of Grand Avenue, if you know where that area is. Electrical lines would be about approximately 40 foot in height off the ground, and the easement size is 20 foot by 100 foot, so it's a pretty small easement area overall.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would be opposed to this particular hearing on utility easement? Raise your hand, please. None noted. Anyone in favor of this utility easement may raise their hand for. Yes, sir. You may step forward, state your name to the podium, sir. You'll have to come to the podium, sir.
My name is Charlie Kress, 2745 Heatherview Circle in Marion, and I'm on the park board. And this has been vetted very thoroughly by our leader of the park department, Mike. So I just trust his judgment on this, and we have talked about it at the board meeting, and the board is in favor of doing this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else in support of this particular project? None noted. Public hearing is now closed. Councilman Brandt.
Resolution number 24973, approving perpetual utility overhang easement with Interstate Power and Light Company located on the portion of Lot B, Legion Park Addition to Marion, Iowa, for the right, privilege, and authority to construct, reconstruct, maintain, operate, repair, patrol, and remove electrical and telecommunications lines.
Second.
Motion is made and second for resolution 24973. Discussion.
Mike, it's talked about patrol. Will they ever have a truck across the trail or anything? Did you talk to them about that?
Yeah, currently there's lines in that area, and they do access to maintain that area if they have to cut back through the easement area. So it's basically doing the same thing that happens right now.
So, but it wouldn't impede the trail. You don't.
No, it would not at all.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? For those in favor of resolution 24973, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And at this time, I shall have a public hearing regarding the establishment of access fees related to the 2015 29th Avenue widening project. Engineering, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The city did have a project called the 29th Avenue widening project, approximately from 35th Street to 44th Street. We widened it on the north side adjacent to two private developments. With that, we had memorandums of agreements with those developers to provide for the access fees or hookup fees for those adjacent properties once the project is completed. In doing that, we would establish the fees at $139.92 for the Prestwick property, and $131.37 per foot for the Robson Homes property.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience that is against this particular project may raise their hand for comment. None noted. Anyone in support of this project may raise their hand for recognition. None noted. Public hearing is now closed. Councilman Abou-Osley, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 15-23, establishing access fees related to the 2015 29th Avenue widening project. Initial consideration.
Second.
Motion is made and second for ordinance number 15-23. Discussion. Those in favor of ordinance 15-23 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And we have another public hearing at this time regarding the adoption of the statewide urban design specifications program. May we have an explanation of that, sir?
Sure. The City of Marion has in the past adopted the Cedar Rapids Metro specs, which we have used over many years to regulate and enforce our quality control on our projects that we do, street projects, sewer projects, stormwater, sanitary. Currently, that spec is becoming a little out of date. There is a very large acceptable path towards SUDAS, which is the state standards that were developed over the last 15, 16 years. We are in the process of recommending to adopt those. We did have a public hearing on October 28th, had very little interaction at that time. We have both placed them on the city website, and there's also a statewide website for the review those specs.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience that would be opposed to this particular adoption of statewide urban design and specifications program, raise your hand, please. Anyone who is opposed? None noted. Anyone in favor of this particular urban design specifications? None noted. Public hearing is now closed. Councilman Draper?
Yes, Your Honor. Ordinance number 1524, adopting a statewide urban design and specification program, SUDAS, and it's the initial consideration.
Second.
Motion is made and second for ordinance 15-24. Discussion?
I have a question. Any just remarkable changes from where we are in that, and any earth-shattering thing that we're going to hear about?
The main things would be that it does call for a recommendation that local streets would be 26-foot wide instead of 28-foot wide. We will adopt that over a period of time with council. Once we adopt the main document, it's two very large books, we will come back with special provisions that will allow us to adjust that spec to be somewhat closer to what we are using now, that will transition back for those developers and so forth, that will allow us to make that transition slowly. There are not any major changes in it.
So we can adopt it and amend it if we find we want to.
Yeah, we can adopt it by ordinance, then we'll amend it by resolution.
Thank you.
For ordinance number 15-24, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Councilman Pizor?
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution. I don't really move to approve this resolution, but I will get it started. 24,974, approving contract with Team Services regarding plant monitoring services for the Central Corridor Complete Streets and Capacity Improvements roundabout at 7th Avenue, 7th Street, and STPA 4775 627 86-57 in the amount of $9,516.16.
Second.
Motion is made and second
I
for...
didn't move it.
Oh,
I just got it started.
okay.
So it has to be moved.
I so move. Oh, so move.
So moved. So moved. I have a second.
Second.
Second, okay. Resolution 24974, approving the contract for team services. Discussion.
This
Ma'am.
continues to add cost to this. I don't think they're roundabouts. I think they're hula hoops. And they're going to also be obsolete before too terribly long. And we just keep adding cost. And I don't think it's a good idea.
Any other discussion?
What exactly was for the initial?
The services
communication of it?
that we solicited and received 3 proposals back would provide for plant monitoring, certified plant monitoring. There's 2 reasons for that. One is that it's a pretty time-intensive process that provides for somebody to be at the concrete plant most of the time while the project's going. We currently have people on staff on site, so it would be difficult for us to do that. The second thing is that because we do federal and state projects so seldomly, we do not have somebody certified, which is fairly expensive and time expensive as well, to do the inspection. We do not have anybody that's currently certified for that.
And basically, audience, this is an individual or individuals that inspect and guarantee the quality of the cement that's going into this particular project. It has to meet specific quotas, specific design standards, and this individual I believe, does testing at least 3 times, plant, whatever.
They have to be there almost every day that we're pouring concrete.
That's great. While they're pouring concrete. So this is a technical situation where they certify that the concrete is to specifications. Sir. Correct. Any other discussion? Those in favor of this particular resolution 24974 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Councilman Nitzel.
Motion to receive and file correspondence regarding the establishment of a no parking zone on the west side of 1st Street and 29th Avenue to 33rd Avenue. Tina Stewart, 3198 1st Street.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to receive and file correspondence regarding the establishment of a no parking zone on the west side of 1st Street from 29th Avenue to 33rd Avenue, and this is from Tina Stewart on 1st Street. I understand there's some individuals in the audience that are opposed to this, or is there anyone in favor of this project in the audience, please? May I have a show of hands of those opposed to this parking? I understand. Thank you. Discussion. Do you have any?
Well, this is just receive and file.
Yeah, I know it is, but do we have any discussion on this item at all on our end? None?
Well, this is just on the receive and file.
That's correct. Right. That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Well, thank you. All those in favor to receive and file signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you. Councilman Speaks.
I move to approve resolution number 24975, approving the establishment of a no parking zone on the west side of 1st Street from 29th Avenue to 33rd Avenue. Will Holland of 3021 1st Street.
Second.
Motion is made and second for resolution 24975. Discussion?
I would have a question insofar as how this will affect emergency vehicles, ambulances, fire trucks, etc. If this is necessary to be able to provide that service. I know that when we had the same thing on 2nd Avenue between 27th Street and 31st Street, we voted it down with the promise literally of people that they wouldn't be parking opposite each other on the street so that there would be a pathway through that vehicles could get through.
Is Mr. Holland here? No. What? Can someone remind me what brought this about? What brought this about? What's the reason?
Request from this Mr. Holland.
But what's his reasoning?
Oh, that
I don't.
We did, Your Honor.
Sure.
Yeah. Council did receive and file the correspondence from Mr. Holland.
Right.
Dated October 31st that was sent via the website. His main citing was the vehicles that have not been moved for months and cars parked on both sides of the street. Cars create a bottleneck for traffic.
and create a hazard for children playing. There have been times when a child runs into the street to get a toy and it's hard to see them with all the cars. I cannot park in front of the house because my neighbor across the street took the whole spot and never moves. There's a car on the other side of my driveway that sits all winter and ends at the end of my driveway that doesn't get plowed. He contacted the Marion PD about it, the 48-hour law, but nothing seems to be done. That is his main concern. That was directed to the Traffic Advisory Committee by council. We have reviewed it and made that recommendation. Most of the mailboxes are on the west side. There is one mailbox on the east side that I saw anyhow. Maybe I missed one, but that's why the Traffic Advisory Committee has recommended no parking on the west side.
Thank you.
But this is First Street,
Yes.
and there are nine similar streets.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, if you're going to do it on one street, you have to do it on all streets. We're doing this to accommodate one person's request. There's 9 other streets that no one's complained about it.
Yeah, we tend to do these based on receive and file and direction from council. We don't really go out and look for streets to get people in to discuss them. So if council would direct staff to do that, we would follow up on that. But yeah, we've addressed some of these streets in the past. I think 9th Street we've looked at before, maybe even 8th and 7th. There's a lot of parking issues up there because of the high school. So we've looked at those over the years that I've been here. Some portions have been marked as no parking. Some have not been addressed at all.
Thank you.
Are we going to hear from?
Yes, yes. Okay, now we have a group of people. Do you have a spokesman, or do you have 2 or 3 spokesmen that could come up? And I'll allow 3 people to speak if you'd like, please. Okay. First, and you'll be second, ma'am. Yes, just line up, and you may all speak. Is that okay? Is that all right with you? All right, fine. Go ahead, ma'am. Name and address, please.
I'm sorry, Tammy March and 3020 First Street. You have to apologize, I'm coming down with a cold. So we kind of went around with a petition a week and a half or so ago, and some of the things that we had put down was most of the homes in the neighborhood do have single driveways. We only have 4 double driveways on the whole entire block, and so it makes it difficult when you have multiple drivers in the household. In my household alone, we have 4 drivers, and we really have to put the kids' cars out in the streets. Of course, they're gone, during the day, either at school or maybe like my son, he works different shifts, so he may be gone during the day, he may be gone in the evenings or whatever. So that was one of the things that we wrote down. When they are parked on both sides, there's always enough space for people to get through. It may be single, but it's going to be that way even when it isn't. I just today when I was driving down, I believe it was 4th Street, after taking my daughter to school, there was, and I'm sure all the streets are the same size as far as the width goes. There was cars just on one side, and I was going down, and someone still stopped to wait for me. So whether it's going to be on both sides or single side, I think it's still going to be people still aren't going to go side by side because they are just narrow enough anyway that it makes people nervous, and people drive bigger cars nowadays than back in the 70s when the houses were built and so forth. And as you had mentioned, First Street's no different than any of the other streets between ours and 10th or 9th Street. Our street, we kind of feel like we're being picked on at the moment. And then if parking is allowed on just the east side of the street, how is that going to affect snow removal? It's going to be more difficult because if we can't park on the opposite side, what do we do with the cars that have to park on that side because they're in and out of driveways or whatever? While there are sometimes more vehicles parked on the street, this happens usually outside of working areas. During the day, the street is almost completely empty. There's a few cars out there, but most still, it's usually on one side or the other. It's never really both sides. And then one of the comments that I did have when I was going around with the petition was that we have an elderly couple that lives across the street, down a few houses, and the concern that they had was the trash and leaf pickup. and the concern they had was if there's always cars parked on that whole entire street, because now we're going to take all the cars that are normally parked on the east side and we're going to move all them to the west side. And if we do that, then there's always going to be cars on the west side. And is that going to affect garbage if they don't see the trash can or the leaves? Because as is, sometimes they don't pick up the leaves when the cars are, or even if the cars aren't parked there. I've had them not pick up. So that was a concern this elderly couple had. And I can't blame them on that. I think that's all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emily Buck, 2955 First Street. Several of us out here have lived on this street for 15 plus years, never had any problem. Our kids have played on this area, never a problem. Every once in a while there is a car that might be parked for a long time. That particular situation, I do believe, has been resolved since then. We already have a law in place, the 48-hour law, which takes care of that. We like it the way it is. So let's just keep it that way. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Leah Klein, 3000 First Street. We have 3 people living in our house right now, so we rely on that street because we're all different shifts. So in order to move our cars, we have to have at least one person on the street. So, and then, of course, everything that Tammy was talking about too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, further now. Do we have further discussion here now with us? Go ahead.
I'd like to hear from fire.
When this has come to us before, I'll stand by. Police and fire always would like to have just one side parking, of course, because it is easier for our apparatus to get through. But at the same time, in this area, we have had no incidents or problems.
Thank you.
Was Mr. Holland aware this was going to be discussed tonight?
Yes, he was notified with everybody else.
Okay, but he's not here.
Would it help if the police department was more diligent following this 48-hour rule? So that
they don't know about it unless somebody
vehicles are
calls
not
them.
left there and just left there, especially when it's snow removal time and the vehicle isn't moved, and so, okay.
What's public service do?
In terms of what?
Plowing snow. I know what you do, but it's a good question.
No, we haven't had any issues through here. Actually, people are pretty good about moving their cars. They know when to. But really, we have no reports of any kind through here. Obviously, we stand with fire. We like parking on one side of the street, but there's been parking on both sides, along the street's been there. So we can deal with it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Or Resolution 24975, approving the establishment of no parking zone on the west side. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
Thank you. Planning and Development, Councilman Brandt.
Move to approve resolution number 24976, approving Nottingham Hills 8th edition final plat and memorandum of agreement for property located south of East Robbins Road and west of Albernet Road, BBAK Investments Ltd.
Second. Motion is made second for resolution 24976. Discussion? Those in favor of resolution 24976 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Councilman Abalosly.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 15-22, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding a request to rezone property located at 631 9th Street from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to C2 Central Business District Commercial. Application is by Jeff Robison. This is the final consideration.
Second.
Motion is made second for ordinance number 15-22. Discussion? Those in favor of ordinance 15-22 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I abstain, please.
Councilman Draper.
Yes, Your Honor. Motion directing staff to solicitate engineering services to obtain estimate costs for completion of 10th Avenue side paths between 35th Street and Engleview Drive.
Second.
Eagleview Drive, I'm sorry.
Second.
Motion is made and second for a motion directing staff to solicit engineering services to obtain an estimated cost for completion of the 10th Avenue side pass between 35th Street to Eagleview Drive, and that is that north of, what side street would that be, cross street?
10th Avenue side paths between 35th. I don't know, do you have a map, Tom?
Hy-Vee down to Walmart.
We don't have an Elmo.
That's, okay. 10th Street is
Old Business Highway 151.
Okay, fine.
So Hy-Vee to Walmart. There you
Was this?
Yeah, it would be the
10th
north
Avenue,
side.
I'm sorry. Yeah, north side.
on the north side, the north side of, it used to be
Highway
7th Street, it's now 10th
151.
Street.
Well, 7th Avenue becomes 10th out there for
Okay.
some.
Yeah,
Avenue.
Highway
Avenue.
151 becomes 10.
All right, so we're going to put a sidewalk on the north side and, okay, fine. And it's going to be how wide, sir?
10 foot.
10 foot wide.
Was
Your
it
Honor, I think
both
the
sides or one
recommendation
side?
is both sides.
It was both sides?
Yes.
Both sides 10 feet wide.
Correct. This is to get an engineer's estimate.
Estimate.
For the cost to have it constructed, and then we would bring back the contract for that for the council to approve before services are provided, and then this would be an application that we'd take to the CMPO, which is an 80-20 split, 80% funded by the CMPO, 20% city. So there's a number of steps that still
Very
go.
good.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you.
Question. There are a lot of drainage ditches out there. How is it going to be on the street side or the inside of the drainage ditches?
That's part of the design that we'll get with the contract.
You got out of that, didn't you?
I did.
Anyway, there's a lot of people that do walk along that road now, and there is no sidewalk in, so. Okay, so,
I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
Do you know, would they take out the existing sidewalk already that's like in front of Hy-Vee and down past the post office, or?
That'll all be part of the design, but I
okay.
referenced Hy-Vee, but I think we'll go east of there, and then, so there'll be a full review of that when we get there.
I'd like to also say that this is in preparation of an application for regional dollars that are not available until 2020.
Mm-hmm. Well, now you have Squaw Creek out there. Is this going to be a bridge, another bridge over Squaw Creek? Or how's that going to be handled?
We have a culvert extension out there that's quite a ways away from the paving that would provide for that crossover, but that is another design thing that we'd have to look at.
Okay. Because when Squaw Creek floods, I mean, it floods.
It's a really wide shoulder there, though,
Mm-hmm.
Especially on the south side of it.
Yeah, we would probably do something like we did out on East Robbins Road and provide for, to be a little closer to the street there. But once again, we'll look at that as we go through the process.
Motion to approve, directing the staff to solicit engineering services. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Councilman Pazor.
Your Honor, I move to direct staff to publish a notice of intent to fill Ward 4 City Council seat vacancy by appointment.
Second?
Motion is made and second, directing the staff to publish a notice of intent. And discussion?
Well, the gentleman that suggested that it wait until the library vote goes, that's 5 months without a, without that seat being filled. I don't know.
If we direct staff, though, to publish a notice with the intent.
It would still require a petition.
Right. It gives people time, if they so desire, to have a special election at the cost of $20,000, roughly, Lon said. And so if that petition is brought forth, we'd have no option but to have a special election, whether or not we could delay it or the library could move up now that, I was there and saw the plans and it's coming along. But then we'd have to decide that. But I think directing the staff, this is the first step. I think we have to do that, and then if we get a petition, we have to move forth.
I think it might be beneficial to explain, if we did do it by appointment, how that process works. Because one of the comments was that, or, one of the reasons why Mr. Sheets gave that we should have an election was that there's more than one person interested. So multiple people will be able to apply to be appointed, correct?
Yeah, the past practice has been to publish the notice of intent to appoint and then do a solicitation period and ask people to put in letters of interest, and then the council in the past has interviewed all of the candidates and then made a selection from amongst the candidates that professed an interest for it.
In the past, it's worked out so that they made their presentation in open council meeting so that the audience could hear what they had to say also, which was actually pretty democratic.
What does it take to do the petition, though? What is
the petition can actually be done at two different times. One is that there's an opportunity within 14 days of when the city publishes the notification of intent to appoint, and then another one could come within 14 days of the actual appointment taking place. So there's actually two periods during which those petitions can be filed. It takes a little over 500 signatures to do that because of the percentage that's required as a percentage of the last general election.
And does it have to be Ward 4?
No.
No.
Can be citywide.
You mentioned that Mr. Knutson came tonight with an idea that I hope we do consider at some point, amending the home rule and electing by ward. We now have 10,000 people in each ward. We have cities that aren't that large that have a whole city council. And the way it is set up currently, one section of town can easily decide a city election, especially when 10% of the people vote. So I hope that this council at some point at least explores that possibility.
Any other discussion? We have a motion directing staff to publish a note of intent to fill a Ward 4 city council seat vacancy by appointment. What's that?
Ask if Mr. Sheets, did that answer your questions for what you've heard tonight, or?
Yes, it has.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Right, we asked Mr. Sheets and he nodded it in agreement. So we have a motion directing staff to publish a notice. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Councilman Etzel.
Motion to receive and file a petition opposed to the establishment of reserved parking zones on the south side of 8th Avenue, on the easterly half block of between 10th and 11th Streets, and the west side of 11th Street on the northerly half block between 7th and 8th Avenues, and the east side of 10th Street on the northerly half block between 7th and 8th Avenues, weekdays between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Second. Motion is made and seconded to receive and file petition. Discussion. Those in favor to receive and file this petition opposed to the establishment of the parking zone signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Councilman Speaks.
Can I say what she said? This is, Your Honor, I make a motion to remove from table.
As printed.
Your bad influence on me. I make a motion to remove from table number 24917, approving the establishment of reserved parking zones on the south side of 8th Avenue on the easterly half block between 10th and 11th Streets, the west side of 11th Street on the northerly half block between 7th and 8th Avenues, and the east side of 10th Street on the northerly half block between 7th and 8th Avenues weekdays between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. This was tabled on October 22nd of this year.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to remove from table resolution 24917. Discussion. Those in favor of motion to remove from table the resolution 24917 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Councilman Brandt.
I move to approve resolution number 24917, approving the establishment of reserved parking zones on the south side of 8th Avenue on the easterly one-half block between 10th and 11th Street, the west side of 11th Street on the northerly one-half block between 7th and 8th Avenue, and the east side of 10th Street on the northerly one-half block between 7th and 8th Avenues, weekdays between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. tabled 10/22/15.
Second?
Motion is made and second for Resolution 24917, approving the establishment of reserve parking zones. Discussion?
Can we see what this looks like? Because I cannot visualize it.
Where are we?
We have this.
Are you wishing to look at it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm concerned.
Existing condition.
I'm concerned a bit about the beauty salon, and sometimes it takes a little longer than 2 hours, which that parking right now is, to get beautiful, and I just don't want to cut them out. That's all.
If I could, Mayor, I'd like to provide a little bit of an update on that.
Certainly.
A couple of things. We did hand out a different copy of the resolution because we have altered the resolution to direct staff to monitor the use of parking in this area and to revisit the issue at a minimum every 6 months. I know one of the concerns that the council has had and that the business owner that has concerns about the project has expressed is not knowing exactly what temporary means. This would confer a responsibility on the staff to make sure that we're keeping an eye on the situation and not letting it go past 6 months before we make a determination on whether or not it still needs to continue in the manner that it would be signed. The other thing that I would note is that engineering, per the direction from the council, did take a look at the south side of 7th Avenue in the old bus pull-off area that's no longer used for a bus stop, and we can get 2 additional parking spaces in there, which would bring the net gain in spaces for the uptown up to 17. And so with the reservation of the 11, we would still have an overall gain in the uptown area of 6.
Well, Your Honor, I have to express that I am not for having reserved parking on public streets. I know that a lot of people that signed that petition were from out of town, and they're impulse shoppers. They are driving through and, oh, let's stop it, and if there's not a parking place, they're not going to stop. And it's going to really hurt the businesses that are left there. So that's basically why I am against reserving on public streets.
Back here holding their hand up.
Ma'am, do you have a comment? You may step forward to the podium, please.
Jeannie Matthews, 770 11th Street. I just wanted to say that there is one business owner that is opposed to this project. I just want you to keep in mind that there are 24 other business and building owners in that immediate arena that have signed letters that have been filed with you all saying we're in support of this. We are all willing to graciously accept this for the greater good of the Art in the Alley project. And I don't want to be pitted against somebody who's my neighbor that I actually think is a nice person. But 24 people have filed letters in support of this, and it's all for this great project for the community. They're reserving 5 spots. Now there's 1 more. They're gaining 6 spots. And I just don't see how it's an issue. So I just want to say that I think it's an easy thing to vote in. So thank you.
Thank you. Just hold a second here. Do we have any other comments on the council on this?
Well, I had asked Lon on Tuesday about contacting her about her own reserve spots, and I see that she's in the audience.
May you step forward, please?
Did you get that notice about that?
Yes, I did, but I thought I should speak with you guys about it. I think that I kind of took offense to it. That's not what this is about. This is my my neighbors, I have a feeling, I've heard from them, they have to ask people to move if they park in front of theirs because another, say, business owner or something will park in front of their place of business, so they want them to move. So now my question is so what is this? It's just going to be a domino effect that people, my customers, will end up parking there. I mean, I have 15 stylists. I'm not going to ask for 15 spots. That's completely ridiculous to me. Because then what? Then how much is actually left? Now I have my whole street mad at me. I mean, this is just, I did take offense to the phone call, so that's why I did not return it. I felt like I should let you guys know my feeling on it. I think that street should have a 1 or a 2 hour in certain areas, or like I had been told once that people would prefer a 2 to 4 when it comes to shopping, or just the reserved parking. I just think it's a bad idea. I don't want it for myself. That is not my intentions of coming to you. I know I did make a comment once of saying, well, then I want my own. No, that's not what this is about. I just want it to be, I understand that there's businesses that say that they're going to be okay with it. When it happens, I would like to see if they are okay with it when my customers park in front of theirs. When the Imagine Art, the construction starts, and now the staging area is there in the Sork Sample parking lot, now where are all those people going to park? When you're already so many, you're going to take away those 5. Yes, you're giving us more, but you took 5 away, so you're giving us 5. Now what about all those other people that are going to come out of that Sork Sample parking lot? Now, I don't want to see the domino effect happen. I just don't think it's a good idea. I understand that they say we want it because of the Imagine Art, and I'm for that project. I just don't understand why those 2 other companies that do not use their parking lots to the fullest, that would have they would have twice that many, I bet, parking spots in those if they would just utilize it. And so why are we as small business owners being asked to, give that up when they don't rely on walk-in business? They don't rely on anything like that. It's just, I guess I just don't understand. I don't understand why other business owners don't see this as a very big issue. That I would like to know another city that, besides city officials or handicapped, that actually reserve public parking in a public street. I get, yes, in public parking lots, stuff like that, but on the street when it's already a parking problem, I understand that some people think it's a walking problem. Well, somebody who doesn't want to walk 2 blocks to come to my salon, they're going to go somewhere else. That just costs, I can't tell that person to walk and get over it. It just doesn't work that way. So I guess, I understand that everyone has their own opinions, and I guess this is just mine. I just hope that you guys will see that it could end up being a very bad domino effect and deter or cause arguments or, just not good feelings towards other business owners. So that's all I have.
I want to say then, if that offended you, I'm very sorry, because I took what you said at the meeting before, where you said, just give me your own. So that's why I had them ask the question. So yeah. I'm sorry that offended you.
No, that's not what I want for the salon. I don't want it on any part of the block.
Okay.
So I just wanted you guys to know that. I didn't want to have it be a discussion between me and, I just would like it to have been between me and you guys, so.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry that offended you.
No offense, no.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And discussion again, do you have anything?
I would just like to thank staff for finding 17 spots that will be available on Saturdays and in the evenings, that's great for our businesses.
Be more.
Lon, what about the question of other cities doing similar things?
I'd have to do some research to see if there are any that do things like this specifically. You know, we looked at it and we discussed it in the intervening time from March until now, trying to find every alternative we could where it would be something where it was off-street parking to avoid having to deal with that issue. If it was a permanent reservation, I think the staff would share her opinion that that's just something that we should not do. But in light of the fact that it's intended to be a temporary issue, that's why we thought that it was worth the short-term negative for the long-term gain.
So if you did review it every 6 months and you found out that they weren't utilizing them or they weren't using them, they didn't need them, or, I mean, are they going to be amenable to that? Are they going to say, okay, we agree with you?
The thing that we have to be able to show them is we have to be able to show them data, because right now, you know, we can't go to them and say, look, you're using the spaces between 6 in the morning and 10 in the morning, and from 10 in the morning until 6 at night, you've only got one person using them. Let's re-sign them so that you're reserved from 6 until 10, and then open them up to the public for the rest of the day. We have the ability to be able to monitor that using electronic equipment so that we can do a time of day analysis, figure out what's being used, when it's being used, and have better numbers to be able to go back and make that argument.
Are they going to agree with you?
It does have to be something that's mutually agreeable between us and the property owner, the property manager.
And the agreement allows for that?
Yeah, as long it's not something that we can unilaterally dictate.
Do you have to wait 6 months for the first review?
We would intend that the first one would be shorter than that. I mean, we're going to monitor the use of those spots starting shortly after they would presumably be signed. And if there's any patterns like the one that I just talked about, they'll be readily apparent very quickly.
When would it be starting?
It wouldn't start until the construction project actually starts, so the signage change wouldn't take place until probably April. It just would depend on the results of the bid and when the contractor told us they were going to start.
Okay, well, 6 months, you could go out of business, right?
Let's hope not.
Well, that's one alternative. And maybe if it was a 3-month type thing, that would be more helpful. I don't know.
We've asked before, we haven't received a reply yet about the Granger House. So how does that come out?
We did run that alternative plus the 8th Avenue alternative past the property manager, and the property manager indicated that option was not something that would be acceptable to the company, so we didn't pursue it any further.
What was the 8th Avenue option?
Whether or not some of the new spots on 8th Avenue could be used in lieu of the ones on 11th Street.
Ma'am, name and address, please.
Okay. Lola McRavy, 1875 Douglas Court. I'm here to defend the girl in the beauty shop. I worked in that salon 14 years back in the 70s, and it was a parking problem then already. But when I bought my own building, I made sure I had my own parking, and I did probably the geriatric client of Marion, because my ladies could push their wheelchair, their walker, whatever, up my ramp and park right at the bottom of the ramp. In her situation, there's no way she can keep her business and push a wheelchair and a walker to old people 2 and 3 blocks away. And as far as Mrs. Matthews saying we have a parking problem in Marion, a walking problem, she needs 20 more years on her life and then see how far she can walk. I could walk to the Y in 10 minutes practically, and I can't walk around the block in that time now anymore. So I think age makes a difference. And your elderly, excuse my voice, my elderly is the ones that support your salon a lot. I don't know unless her business has changed a lot, but I've been in business 53 years. I work behind the chair, and I know what it's like. I helped elderly people, and I know what it takes to run a business because I was successful. I raised 8 children on my income, so I did something. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do you have any other discussion here?
There's another comment.
Oh, yeah.
Kay Lammers, 2820 2nd Avenue in Marion. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for the art and park. I have been from the beginning. But Did all of you know that this parking issue was going to come up when you approved of it? I didn't hear any of that. But I wanted to remind everybody that this is a blue zone. Why can't they make a deal with that Simcoe's parking? I just got my hair cut a couple days ago, and there was 4 cars in that lot. The whole north side of that lot was totally empty except for a couple of trailers on the east side. And there is no way that you should be giving public parking to private people and be there all day long. Because right now, I called the police department, there's a 2-hour limit downtown on any parking spot. They don't enforce it as much as they used to, but there is a 2-hour limit. And that is called public for a reason. And there's no reason that those folks can't walk across the street and say, wow, I got a quarter mile on my Fitbit already today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor, one thing I would like to correct is, there have been several comments about whether or not the council saw the map or was briefed on the potential impact of this before it came before you with this resolution. So we went back and did some research, and in March, when Shive Hattery came in and discussed the plans for the Imaginate process, or for the Imagine Art in the Alleys project, they spent over 5 minutes talking about this very specific thing and presented the initial map to the council showing the 9 spots at the time that were contemplated to be switched. The only change that was made from that initial one was the 2 spots on 10th Street. So I just wanted to clear up there. I think there's a misconception that this was something that was sprung on the council at a later date, but it was discussed back in March, and then engineering covered it again at a subsequent council meeting in May.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Hi, Jill Ackerman, 2420 Indian Creek Road. I'm actually here for Karen Hoyt because she wanted me to give you guys an update on where we are with the private fundraising piece of this project. As you all know, Art Place America partners with large foundations and financial institutions that understand the power of the arts to bring people together and spur private investment in cities and towns of all sizes. Art Place selected Marion as the only Iowa place to receive support. This is a national organization. And our application was awarded $350,000, the 13th highest amount in the U.S. last year. The funding was sent to us as soon as we were announced as the winners, and they trust us to finish the project by December 31st of next year. The project, as you all know, has required a myriad of partners to work as a team, including our council, so we thank you for that. We thank you for your unanimous decision to underground the utilities in the alley. It's very much appreciated. Thank you to thanks to the support of many local foundations, corporations, businesses, organizations, and families. Our capital campaign has been going well, and we have over $148,600 in contributions to date, plus the $350,000 from Art Place America. So almost $500,000 has been raised for this project that is not taxpayer money. And this project was suggested by Community Redesign when we first started looking at the corridor redevelopment project as being an integral strategic move in order to help the businesses on 7th Avenue when that central corridor is under reconstruction. Local contractors will need the funding to make sustainable improvements to the infrastructure in the alleys, and by next year at this time, the project area should be open for everyone to enjoy. Our project has experienced many challenges along the way. For example, last spring when the project was let, the only bid for construction work was nearly double the engineer's estimate. But our leadership team and many partners have worked together to bring down the cost of the project with the expectation that the project can be relet this month. A later letting date could result in higher bids, so timing really is of the essence. The current parking issues need to be resolved so that we can stay on schedule. The Art Place America grant has put our city on truly a national stage. There are people watching Marion, Iowa, and are really excited about this cutting-edge project. So we hope that we can work together to be an inspiration for other communities across the U.S. And I just want to recognize the city staff and our Imagine Art in the Alley leadership team for working on several different solutions to this problem. It's real easy to stand back and throw stones at something, but these guys have worked to come up with several different solutions that's really netting an additional 6 spots that we don't have today. And so, to me, this is really a non-issue, and I really hope you guys support the changes to the parking strategy. Thanks.
Thank you. Once again, do you have any discussion here?
No, you got another.
More building.
Dave
Oh,
Martin.
one more?
Dave Martin, 890 18th Street. I'm also the owner of Martin Gardner Architecture and the building located on the corner of 11th Street and 7th Avenue, the old bank building. I got to admit, in reality, the problem on that street has been in part due to my employees. We have 4-hour parking in front of Jeannie's building, and my employees have been parking there. That's 6 people every day. Sometimes it's as many as 11 people. When this issue came up and the map came around, basically I've said to my employees, we got to park elsewhere. And they're parking a block north, just across the street from Hills Bank, there by Farmer's office building, or south of 7th Avenue where some of them are parked all along. But when we look at this issue, I agree, I'm not real thrilled about reserving public spaces. But this Art in the Alley project is very important to this community. My building is going to abut it. It's going to create some other hassles for me, but I'm very willing to do that because it's going to improve our community. It's going to heighten our ability to attract people and keep employees in this community. It's going to do a lot for us. So I'm fully in favor of it. It's a minor thing for us to walk. As you said, and as Kay said, it doesn't hurt us to walk an extra half block to get to our office on a day. In fact, we sit on our butt most of the day and can use it. So we're happy to do that. None of my employees are complaining. Maybe, Friday afternoon they're going to complain when it starts to snow, but in reality it's good for all of us. I would also support the fact that our downtown infrastructure, especially around the beauty salon, really needs some help for those people that need handicapped access in and out. The condition of the sidewalks, the access curbs, those things, I realize everybody's trying to put this off into the streetscape, but there is some help that's needed in that area so that the handicap can get around. And that's one of the bigger issues that I see for success of a beauty salon, whether they appeal to the elderly or just the general public. So I do support this change. I do support the fact that we need to monitor this parking more closely. About 10 years ago, we changed the parking in that area, the time limits, and the time limits are not enforced. I understand why they're not enforced. I also understand there's discussion back and forth about that. But we really need to monitor this situation going forward. So, support of the project.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions, point of information. I didn't quite understand, does the renter have full authority to give us those parking places from the building owner? The Iowa Realty does not own that building. Does the building owner agree to all of this? That's one question. The other question is, what will these signs say?
The building owner has a property manager that manages the buildings themselves as well as the leases with both of the companies that are in the buildings. It's the same property owner in the Shermco building and the Iowa Realty building. And what they've done is we have worked with the property manager, who then goes back and has worked out the terms between the two companies, because each one of them has a certain number of parking spots in their lease. And then they worked out a plan to make sure that they were fulfilling the terms of those lease obligations in exchange for the property that is in the red area above being contributed to the Art in the Alleys project. So we've always gone through that property manager, but they have authority to act on behalf of the building owner for this issue.
Are they giving that land to the city?
They're giving us a permanent easement for it, which actually means that we will have the ability to install publicly owned infrastructure on top of it, and it will still stay in private ownership, meaning they're actually going to pay property taxes on top of it, even though it's been dedicated over for public use. And that is a perpetual easement.
And what would the signs say?
The signs would say, the ones immediately adjacent to the Shermco building would say permit parking. And then they will manage that themselves internally as far as form of permit, type of permit, what they do.
Permanent parking for?
Permit.
Permit parking.
Permit.
I'm sorry, okay. Dave mentioned something I can remember 30 years ago. We had a CBD committee on downtown, which I was part of, and we had all the building owners sign the thing saying their employees would not park on 7th Avenue and in front of their businesses. That's part of the parking problem. That's part of the reason that my office bought a parking lot behind the building so we could park employees on 10th Street. Is there a way we could enforce 2-hour parking? We used to have a foot patrol that went around. We used to have a motorcycle that went around and marked tires.
Yeah, that's something I can confer with the police department on.
I think, I've argued this thing has haunted me a lot. The thing I think about is that how important that alleyway is going to be when we tear 7th Avenue up, the sidewalks and things. I remember before when they had little planks going up to the stores, and we lost the hardware store and the Boston store, and we've lost so many places that were really important. And I think this alleyway is going to be of super importance to the stores that are left on that side of 7th Avenue for people to get to the back doors. And it's really important this project move along in time before we do the 7th Avenue side of it. I too commend the city for finding additional parking. I think that's important. I think it's really important that we not allow construction workers to park in these parking places. Another hat I wear at the Presbyterian Church, we've signed an agreement to allow some of the construction 6 vehicles to park over there. And so they're thinking ahead on that, but it would be a tragedy if we had 19 workers all parked in a parking place on 11th Street. No one would be in favor of that. So those are my questions I have, and then I'll sit here and mull the answers to those.
And what this discussion really does underscore is that need for us to get the parking study completed for the uptown area. That is in the council strategic plan for this year. Just with everything else that's been on the plate, we haven't gotten to that yet, but it's on the docket to be completed this fiscal year.
Yeah, this is just, it's not an ideal situation, and like Paul, I've struggled with it. Our uptown needs help, It's, it needs our help, and I see this project as really breathing some more life into the uptown and potential for a lot more things to happen. I think this whole discussion really highlights what I've said before, that this really highlights the need for a parking structure, because it's one thing to say there's lots of parking for retail businesses, but it's the office businesses that have to have a reliable place for, and the retail businesses too, for their workers. People that are coming to work there every day, they need a reliable place to say, this is where you park. And, that we really have a need for a structure that people can tell their employees, especially like I said, the office businesses, these two companies that are asking for the reserved spots, they're our biggest office tenants down there. And, you know, as well as the retail businesses that have employees that come to work every day, they need a reliable place to say, this is where you can park. So I hope that we remember that if we have discussions about a parking structure.
What would be the problem with checking it every 3 months? Would that help as opposed to 6 months? Yeah, please.
I mean, however often you want to check it, but one of my problems is no one's addressing the fact that they don't use their current parking lots. If they used it, they wouldn't need these other ones. They just want to park close. That's to sit at their desk. I mean, they have their own empty parking lot, both places. You guys want to bring all these people in and, you know, make this, you know, we need work up there. Well, these two big places that don't people don't come to iRealty to be able to go out and walk around uptown. They don't come to Sherb & Co. to come shop uptown. That's not what they do. Put them in their own parking lot. I don't understand why the people that are behind this, giving them these 11 spots, doesn't just go and say, can't you just use this because it's only temporary if they already have the space? I just don't understand why they can't use their own parking lot. Everyone says, I went and built my own. Well, they did. They tore down a big, old, beautiful church that was there to build this parking lot they don't use. I don't understand why that's not such a huge issue to everybody. If they would use it, if it was full, even half full, but it's not. I have always watched that because I watched that big church come down. And now they don't use it. At least they could have done something. You could have used that and used that for art and all that kind. I mean, that would have drawn in. It would have gone in with the Imagine Art in the Alley. But instead, we have a parking lot that people don't use.
I think that was a trade-off, though, for giving up those parking spots. You know, they gave up those parking spots, and then we gave them the reserved. You know, they gave that up. We had to, you know, it's kind of a trade-off.
But they're not using their parking spots. They have how many? I've never gone over and counted. I bet you there's at least 20 that they don't use. I mean, you guys keep saying. I mean, I brought in a spreadsheet last meeting and said, you know, they're saying you're giving them this, but if then you're going to give them free reserved parking in the parkade. I mean, yes, I've asked for reserved parking in a parkade, but I'm paying for it. I didn't ask. You know, I'm not going to ask to have it for free. I don't think that's fair. But you're giving it to them for free, and in 16 months, what that property would be worth, I mean, why can't you just buy it from them? You have $500,000, you said. And they only pay, I mean, looking at mine, I looked at my, you know, I technically own 3 parcels. My back parcel, that is pretty much a parking, and then a 2-story that's not on street or anything. Like, there's no storefront. It's pretty much comparable to that, and I think it's for the whole year, it's like maybe $2,000 that, you know, I pay in taxes. So it's not like you guys are making, because he's still paying property taxes. You're not making what you're losing and giving them free parking. I mean, so you can't say that they're giving you something, because technically you're giving them the free parking. You're giving them lifetime free parking. So if they would use the parking lot if it was full, I would totally understand. I'd be, okay, fine. But they're not.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just again, for reference for the council, keep in mind that it's not simply the property. Right now, they have exclusive use of 12 parking spaces on those spots. That's the real value of what they are giving up. And if you're an owner and you have buildings that have parking, those parking spaces do have value when you're out there looking for tenants. You think about the marketability of the Iowa Realty building, it's very, very different if they're marketing that building with 12 dedicated off-street adjacent parking spaces services versus marketing that building without those, especially when you're looking for office tenants, as Councilman Abu-Wasley said. This isn't something where we could just unilaterally go in and say, hey, this is what we want to do, sign on the dotted line. It's been a negotiation from day one. We've had negotiations with several other building owners that are adjacent to this that are giving up a collective 6 parking spaces that have not asked for those to be replaced because they believe in this project. This one is a little bit different in that these are the 2 buildings that have office users in it, and it was what they wanted and as part of the donation of the easement for the property to allow us to do the project. It greatly increased the area that we were able to work and added a lot of depth and dimension to the project that we're going to be able to complete. Made it a far superior product to what it was before. While I understand why she has a concern with whether or not they're fully utilizing their parking spaces that they have right now, to me that's kind of a red herring because it's not really related to the issue of what they were giving up and what they were asking for in return as part of the project.
I guess that's what I was thinking too. I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate that they're not using their parking spaces, but that's really not the discussion. They have private property that they have said that they don't have to do anything. They don't have to let the city do anything, but they have said you can use this for public use. So they're asking for something in exchange for that.
What's going to happen if Iowa Realty moves out?
Right now, the property, the use of the property is contingent on the construction of the parking ramp, that those spaces could be moved over to the parking ramp. Any change in tenancy over there is an opportunity for the city to go back and renegotiate the terms of the agreement. Again, it's not something that we can unilaterally say we're going to make this change, but it's something that provides an opening for us to go in there and see if we can get the terms made differently. We don't know for sure what the long-term use of either of those buildings ultimately will be. If Shermco moves out at the end of their lease in a couple of years and they bring in retail users, the idea of having reserve parking is probably not going to be an issue for them anymore. But as long as it's in office use, that probably is going to be something that they're going to want to maintain.
Well, I look on this as kind of a dog in the manger type thing. I mean, anytime you go by, there's an empty lot. And it's like the dog that sits in the manger and doesn't like let the cattle come up and eat the hay. And that's what it reminds me of. And somehow it just doesn't seem friendly.
Right, any other discussion? We ought to have a roll call vote, please.
Before you vote, Mayor, I would ask that you substitute the amended resolution for the one that's in front of you. That's the one that has the language making staff responsible for continuing to follow up and monitor this.
Where's this?
It's still the same resolution number, it's just an amended version of it.
It's the one attached to the...
So if there could be a motion and a second to substitute the amended resolution 24917.
So moved.
Second.
So I make a motion to change what is printed to the amended resolution for 24917.
Second.
Second.
Where is this?
It's right here. It's
This part?
This is the...
Where is the amended resolution on all this paperwork? We have several sheets of paper, but what is the amended resolution?
The amended resolution has a section added that states that the City Council has reviewed the
Excuse me. You all have this?
No. I don't believe it.
We have one copy.
It should be in this package.
Oh, okay.
Thought it was in there, sorry.
We added that language based on the discussion from Tuesday with the concern about wanting to make sure that it was something that the staff was diligent about continuing to monitor and that we didn't miss opportunities to look to change the terms of that if we...
You only have one copy.
I got one, Your Honor, but, all right, that one here.
This is two?
Yeah, is this,
Is it up there?
What's the difference in wording?
I got one as part of mine, but
What's the difference in, do you have a copy?
The monitoring.
The difference is that it adds in the language that is up on the monitor right now that directs staff to monitor this agreement as it relates to the aforementioned reserved parking every 6 months. Basically, the discussion on Tuesday, the council seemed to have a concern that, in the interests of this being something that was a temporary situation, that we didn't want it to just get fallen off to the wayside and forget about it, and then all of a sudden it's 5 years later. This makes sure that the staff is directed to continue to follow up with this and provide some accountability to make sure that we've got very clear direction from the council that you want us to continue to monitor this situation.
still don't know what the signs are gonna say. Permit parking. Oh, all right.
It'll say like that.
Yeah, I understand. Gotcha. Scroll it up.
This is,
Scroll it up.
this is injected right here. Okay, do you all understand that well, apparently the third paragraph in has been interjected?
Yeah, go back down to the,
It is resolved,
Monitoring.
no, whereas the city council has reviewed, I think it goes up one more.
The second
Not the resolve, but review.
the reservation or the
There we are,
direction
that's
language.
the one right there, that's the new one, that's the new paragraph, correct?
Yep.
Now, there was some comment that if this is not approved, then the Art in the Alley project is it in peril? Or we still have time the city to find parking spots if we're not done, it's not a done deal.
What we would have to do, though, is we can't put the project out to bid until we know for sure that these issues have been taken care of, because
Correct.
we don't. The easement for the property that we'd be working on would, at that point, not be adopted by the city council, and we can't put out to bid a project for property that we don't have control over. So if we were to not approve the reserved parking, it would push back the project again until such time as we would have that property under control. Otherwise, you'd have to redo the plans to remove that. Redoing the plans to remove that at this point would result in some pretty dramatic changes to the scope of the project and what we were able to do. I don't think we'd have enough time to get it back out to bid. We'd miss the good bidding climate, and it would put us back into a climate like we were in last year when the bids came in twice what the original engineer's estimates were, and would put us in jeopardy of losing the grant, because I don't know if we miss this bidding window that we'd be able to get the project constructed by the deadline.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that the long-term effect of this is we have to get the construction done, and then we have to get the art placed in the alley afterwards. And that's a lot of work and a lot of time. I don't think as we move this every week that we lose now, it's very critical to that end of the project when we're trying to get that done so that we can get project acceptance to meet the needs of the grant. So not only the letting situation, but also the timing to get the project completed.
Very well, any other comments? So we'll have a roll call, please.
Okay, the motion on the table right now is to substitute the revised resolution, adding the 6 months.
Yes, and it was seconded.
Yes,
All right,
Mike.
all those in favor of the amended resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Okay, now do you want a roll call
Yes,
on
please. Yes, please, on resolution.
as amended?
As amended, 24917?
Correct.
Okay, as amended.
Ms. Pizor?
Well, because of the lack of consideration to one business owner, I vote no.
Ms. Setzel?
Yes?
Mr. Spinks?
Yes.
Mayor Buska?
No.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Abou-Osley?
Yes.
Mr. Draper?
Doesn't make any difference. Present.
And a vote?
Well, yeah, that's coming from an individual that was never, what do you say, recognized as winning his election by the Gazette.
Yeah, I would like, if anybody is here from the Gazette or the Times, it's Paul Draper, Draper. And Mayor, I'm sorry, but I have responsibilities with nursing at home. I came specifically for this vote, and it's over, so I'm going to leave now. But next council time, would you please mention John Belson?
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. So we'll be moving on now to Councilman Nick Abou-Osley. Number 5.
Mr. Mayor, I move to remove from the table a motion directing staff to reconfigure the east side of 10th Street from 7th Avenue to 8th Avenue, both sides of 11th Street from 6th Avenue to 8th Avenue, and the north side of 8th Avenue from 11th Street to 12th Street per Exhibit A. This was tabled on November 5th, 2015.
Second.
Motion is made second to remove from table a motion directing the staff. Discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Councilman, okay. Councilman speaks.
Yeah, Your Honor, this is a motion directing staff to reconfigure the east side of 10th Street from 7th Avenue to 8th Avenue, both sides of 11th Street from 6th Avenue to 8th Avenue, and the north side of 8th Avenue from 11th Street to 12th Street per Exhibit A.
Second.
There goes second. Motion directing staff to reconfigure the east side. This is for from 7th Street and 10th Avenue to 8th Avenue. And this is to reconfigure with more parking spots, more parking spaces. I understand. Discussion? Those in favor of directing staff to reconfigure the east side of 10th and as read signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Councilman Pizor.
Your Honor, I move to remove from the table a motion to approve project calendar regarding the 2016 Art in the Alley project as follows. And A, B, C, D, including resolutions 24,952, 53, and 54,
Second.
as printed.
A motion to remove from table the project calendar as read seconded. Discussion? All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Councilman Utz.
Motion to approve project calendar regarding the 2016 Art in the Alley project as follows. Tabled 11/5/15, including resolution, A, B, C, and D, and resolution number 24952, 24953, and 24954.
Motion is made and second to approve the project calendar regarding the Art in the Alley. Discussion?
Why is there two of these that read almost identical? I mean,
Move from the table.
oh, it was tabled. Okay, got you.
Okay, ready to go?
Ready to go.
All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Councilman Speaks.
Yes, Your Honor, this is a motion to remove from table Resolution 24944, approving partial payment number 24 to Martin Gardner Architecture for professional services regarding the downtown revitalization project in the amount of $3,927.50, tabled from our 11/5 meeting.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to remove from the table Resolution 24944. Discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Councilman Brent.
Motion to amend resolution number 24944 as follows. Partial payment number 25 to Martin Gardner Architecture for professional services related to the downtown facade revitalization program in the amount of $3,384.99.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to reduce the payment. Is that correct, sir? Good enough. We'll reduce it. That's fine. Motion to amend the resolution 24944. Discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Mr. Mayor, I'm abstaining from this
Abstain?
and the next one. Yep.
Okay, you want to take this one right here?
Sure. Yep. All right, move to approve resolution number 24944, approving partial payment number 25 to Martin Gardner Architecture for professional services related to the downtown facade revitalization program in the amount of $3,384.99.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded for resolution 24944. Discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Abstain.
And one abstention, please. At this time, I have a public hearing to accept the construction documents and award the bid for the downtown facade revitalization program.
Mr. Mayor,
there you are.
I would suggest on this one that if there is anybody in the public who came to make comments on that, to allow that, but we want to ask the council to continue the public hearing until the first meeting in December. I guess there are some revisions being made to a couple of the drawings that may change the final bid number, and so we don't want to award the bid until those are completely known. So we would continue the hearing and then table number 13 following.
Oh, so we did a partial payment for
the second
downtown
meeting in
facade so
December.
far. There's continuing engineering.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I misspoke. We want that at the second council meeting in December. So if there's anybody that came in anticipation of speaking on it.
We'll open this to public comment. Anyone against the downtown facade revitalization program at this time, you may speak. None noted. Anyone in favor of the downtown facade program may raise your hand and speak. None noted. I shouldn't close this. I should keep it open. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'd need a motion and a second to continue the hearing until the second council meeting in December.
I'll make a motion to continue. Oh, sorry, Nick.
Motion to continue.
Second.
And a second?
To the second meeting in December, so
Right.
let's continue it to a definite time. Yeah.
Right, very well. We'll continue. Go ahead now.
And it takes out number.
Then we'd need a motion to table resolution 24977.
I move to table resolution 24977, accepting the construction documents and awarding the bid to
Second.
Renaissance Restoration.
Second.
And a second.
Second.
Very well. Discussion? Those in favor of tabling this resolution 24977 signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? We now have a public hearing regarding the amendment to the Marion Commerce Corridor Urban Renewal Plan.
Yeah, the city received a request from Franz Community Investors, the new owner of the Coben Hervey building, which everybody would be more familiar with, that being the former Sorg Pharmacy and the Parks and Schmidt building. They are planning a historic restoration project on that facility that will renovate the exterior of the building and redo the commercial spaces on the inside. And then the upper floor would be renovated to provide for 3 apartments in the uptown. They submitted a request for some help to do that. We did review the pro forma and took a look at the incentive that would be needed in order for them to be able to complete that project, and it's being contemplated in a couple of different ways. One would be that the city would be making a direct loan to them for that, and then they would repay that to the city. And the way it's set up is what's called a residual receipts loan, meaning that they'll have to keep in contact with us and basically keep their books open so we know how much they're earning on the building. They'd be able to earn a defined profit, and we'd have to make sure that they would meet their lending ratios from the bank for debt coverage. But over time, because of that, we would be paid back at an accelerated rate as rents change or things like that. The other provision that would be in there is that at such time that their bank loan is paid down to the point that they could refinance and pay us off completely, they would pay us off at that point. So they'd be forced to refinance and use exclusively private financing and repay us. There's a small TIF incentive that would be attached to that ends up being around $16,000. But the backup that we would have for doing this type of a project is that in the event that they failed to make their payments, then the city has the ability to assess that debt towards their property taxes. So we have the ability to recover it even outside of a conventional TIF agreement. As the council's aware, we've really been trying to move away from the idea of doing forgivable loans or any type of economic development grants to make the businesses responsible to pay that back and ensure that taxpayer money is used as temporarily as possible to get these buildings moving forward. This is a complicated project because it's going to cost about $1.6 million for them to do it. They're going to be leveraging state tax credits from a couple of different programs, and they were awarded a $55,000 challenge grant through Main Street to help out with the costs of it. But the simple reality of these historic buildings is that a lot of the repairs and work that they're going to have to do are not things that are going to add value like you see with the new construction or the expansion of an existing facility. So it's harder to make them cash flow when you're doing a lot of work that the assessor's office classifies as maintenance.
Why wouldn't the bank finance it rather than the city? We're doing some financing here. Is that correct?
The bank has limitations on a couple of different things. One is they're going to run into a maximum amount for their debt coverage ratio. For example, if you go to get a mortgage on your house, the bank may loan you 80%, and you've got to come up with 20% equity. The other thing that they'll run into is that the bank examines the cash flow that the building is going to be able to generate. And with a facility like this, with what they're currently able to charge for rents for commercial space in the uptown, they reach the lending limit that the lender is willing to put into the facility. That's why I said we have to take a look at what the debt coverage ratio is. That's the amount of income to the building, the percentage of income that you have to have relative to the amount of debt that the facility is going to have on it. So in this case, for example, the bank requires a minimum of a 1.2 debt coverage ratio. That's before anything that would be considered a second mortgage, which the city would have a second mortgage. With the second mortgage on it, that actually brings it down to about 1.1%. The margin that the developer would be earning on the facility is between 7 and 9% for their cash-on-cash rate of return.
You said if they default, the city has the right to assess the entire amount?
We'd be able to assess it as property tax. Mm-hmm.
They go under.
But that stays with the building. I mean, the assessment is against the building, not the...
Yeah, the assessment's against the facility, and we still then have the ability to interdict the future TIF value. The TIF on it is limited to $16,000. It's a very small amount, but with this type of a restoration project, there's not a lot of precedent in the uptown area for knowing exactly where the county's assessment is going to come in on it. We tried to stay purposely low on estimating what the assessment would be, which reduced the amount of TIF incentive that they would qualify for. So we do have the backstop of the additional TIF revenue along with the ability to assess.
Well, I'm asking the question now that you have this developer that's coming in to rehab this particular building. They have to have the financial, supposing they have the financial ability to come in and do this particular project. Have we looked at the plans or the responsibility of the developer? Is he fiscally responsible? Does he have the fiscal responsibility to be able to do this whole project without any help from the city?
To complete it as a historic restoration, no.
Okay, now, what I'm saying is, if he went into this particular project and he doesn't have that ability to complete the project without the city's help, what's the status of this building now, if we don't give him any help?
It would change the way that they approach the project. They may not finish the upstairs to add the additional housing, or they may approach it as just a conventional rehabilitation and not a historic rehabilitation project.
Mm-hmm.
So it would change the nature of the project greatly. And, in reference to whether or not the developer has the capability to do it, Franz Community Investors has completed some historic restoration projects in Dubuque and in Fort Madison. I did contact some of my counterparts over in Dubuque, and they have very high praise for the product that the company does at the end. Unlike some of the other ones that we've run into with some very well-known uptown projects, we wanted to make sure that we vetted that they had the experience and capability to do it.
Your Honor, I think that the council kind of feels, in fact, staff too, feels a little snake bit insofar as lending money to any kind of a project, since we have that uptown thing still sitting there.
You can call it a fiasco. We're fine with that.
That was taped. But what I'm saying is that they're coming in with a notable project. Don't get me wrong. But if they don't have the ability to complete the project without the help of the city, and we're talking about $300,000,
it's $450.
$450,000 for developers frankly, is a piece of cake. I don't know about the rate of return, whether the rate of return has to be there in order for us to get our money. So, correct?
Right, and that's why when we talked about the revisions to the TIF policy, this is really the kind of a process that we're going to be running them through. Essentially, the way the old process would have worked, we would have asked for a comment back from the lender that would have said that the city's money was needed to make the project go, and we might have done it as a forgivable loan and not had the expectation that the money come back in. But now, because we're digging into it deeper, we've been able to verify that yes, in fact, the developer will have the ability to repay us that assistance, so it'll come back in over a period of time.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for the background. Now, do we have anyone in the audience that is against this particular project? You may raise your hand, sir. Step forward to the microphone with the name and address, please.
Larry Sankey, 1580 3rd Avenue. Is this now Marion's Home and Loan Company? I'm tired of the TIF. You have a woman back here that has a business that half of you don't care about. You care about yourselves, evidently, with their parking spots. She pays our local option tax, as which Iowa Realtor doesn't. And I don't see why the city needs to give anyone a loan like that. Maybe we ought to charge you. If you do, maybe we ought to get like 21% interest on it. If he's that good, if they're that good, the bank ought to loan them the money.
Thank you. Is anyone else opposed to this project? Will you raise your hand and be called? Anyone in support of this particular project, please raise your hand and step forward, sir.
Dave Martin, 890 18th Street. You guys know I own my old building. Let me explain to you how I can afford to own my own building. When I bought it from a guy who was desperate for money. I bought that building probably at a half to a third of the price that it should have sold for. I couldn't restore that building when I bought it. I was lucky enough that we were able, over a 2-year period, to be able to get tenants into the building, which is a very unusual thing, that I could fill my upstairs. I've been very lucky that I've had my building full pretty much for 15, 20 years. But I still can't afford to restore my building and do it the right way. I'm still working to find ways to get rid of the ugliest, where's Tom? The ugliest wall in Uptown Marion, and put a storefront back in. I'm still working to get my old single-pane windows replaced. Even after a car hit one, I couldn't afford to replace it. And basically, I just make ends meet on that building every year. My partner and I, we don't take any money out of the building. I get a little bit of money, management fee for the year. That's how most of us in Uptown Marion survive on the building, and that's why our uptown buildings look the way we do and why we've had to do the facade program. Is it right that we have to do this? Not necessarily right, but it's the only way that Uptown's going to survive because our rental rates are so low. And this is testimony to the fact that when people have bought buildings, people have sold buildings for what the market will bear. And have they overpaid for the building? Well, compared to what the rental rate is in Marion, it's the truth. I mean, it's why Phil High's building has got an upper floor empty, because rental rates in Marion are too low. That's a little bit of what this guy's dealing with. I will say I've become acquainted with their architect they keep on staff. These are quality people that understand preservation, that understand this kind of project. In a perfect world, no, we wouldn't have to do this. But the reality is that if you want people to come in and invest in Marion, we need to offer incentives of some kind. We need to watch those incentives very closely. That's why we've gotten a little bit snake bit, if you want to put it that way. We need to watch it more closely, but we need to deal with quality people and help them along where we can. And we need to get our money back out of the deal, when that's the agreement to do. So, yeah, I'm in favor of it. And as a building owner, I understand it. And as a board member of Uptown Marion, I wholeheartedly support them getting this building back on the market and adding more to the value of Marion. One of the things that Uptown, that Main Street, Iowa has shown, is that when you get those upper apartments going and you get a building fully occupied, it pays off to the city in increased taxes. The tenants pay utilities. The tenants bring more income to the community through purchasing things. So this is a project, it's kind of like saying when the city of Cedar Rapids gave incentives to Quaker Oats over 120 years ago, gee, was that a good deal? I think so. And this, on a very small scale, is a similar situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public hearing is now closed. You want to take 13 here? Right, number 13?
Oh, no, we're down. We're on 15.
Excuse me, 15, yeah.
Mary Lou.
Mine now?
That's
Okay.
Mary Lou.
Yep.
Then I move to approve resolution 24,978, approving an amendment to the Marion Commerce Corridor Urban Renewal Plan.
Second.
Motion is made and second for resolution 24978. Discussion. Those in favor of resolution 24978 signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? And we have one more public hearing regarding approval or proposed development agreement with Franz Community Investors for renovations to the Cogley Hervey building, including annual appropriation tax increment payments. Those opposed to this particular proposal may step forward to the podium. None noted. Anyone in favor of this may step forward. Again, none noted. Public hearing is now closed. Councilman Edsel.
Resolution number 24979, approving the development agreement with Franz Community Investors for renovations of the Cobain Hervey building, including annual appropriation tax increment payments.
Mayor, if we could, I'd like to have, after there's a second on this, I'd like to have this tabled until the first meeting in December. We haven't received all the exhibits yet that we need from the bank to finalize the agreement. I want to have everything in hand.
I would like to see how financially stable they are, for one, and then to see if, in fact, they could do this without the city's help. If not, then fine. All right.
I move to table this resolution until the first meeting in December.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to table resolution 24979 until the first meeting
In December.
in December.
Is it January? Is it January
December.
December.
Okay.
December. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So we have just tabled this particular resolution. We can move on, correct? Very well.
Yes.
Very well. You want to take this next one? then? There we go.
Yep. Your Honor, I make a motion to approve these mayoral reappointments. Francis Renfer for the Art Council, Dave Martin for the Historic Preservation, Deb Callahan for the Local Option Sales Tax, Tom Bagley, Nuance Advisory Board, Marie Murphy for the Planning and Zoning Commission, Scott Hansen for the Tree Board, John Hager for the Tree Board, Mark Sanderson for the Tree Board, and John Bender for the Water Board. And also, Melissa Monroe for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and Danielle Brazent for the Civil Rights Commission.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded for the mayoral appointments. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Sir?
can we vote on Dave Martin separately? I need to abstain.
Certainly, we'll vote on the mayoral reappointments and remove B. Is that correct? Remove B. Right. On 18. That would be 18B to be removed. All right. So, very well. All those in favor of the mayoral reappointments except 18B signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Now, go ahead. Read 18B.
So I make a motion to approve Dave Martin for the Historic Preservation Committee.
Second.
Motion is made second for the Historical Reservation Committee for Mr. Martin. Discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Abstain.
And one abstention. We're done? Very well. Very well. Discussion? None.
Nope.
None.
I have to tell you, Mary Lou, when we did the Medco tour, we took I think it was a 60 or an 80, was it a 60-person bus? Yeah, it was a bus way bigger than a school bus. And we went a complete circle around the roundabout on Tower Terrace and Albernet Road, and it never touched the inside of that roundabout. And we didn't die. So
Your time is coming.
so anyway, so there's been a myth that buses and big trucks can't go around a roundabout. Well, we went all the way around it twice, and it never touched the inside of it. So.
And you didn't get dizzy or anything?
Well, we were only doing 5 miles an hour. He wouldn't go any faster. But anyway, I've been waiting to tell you that. Anyway, that's all.
Any comments?
No.
The Marion Messenger had a lot of good information in it about just recognitions and positive things happening in Marion, so I just want to point that out. And I also want to say something. I was at the coffee shop about a week ago, and there were some people, sitting there, and they were seniors, and they said they go to the church that's there on 35th and 29th. And they said, we can't wait for this roundabout. We think it's really going to help things. I said, okay, we'll see. But anyway, I'm just passing along their comment. Paul wanted me to mention the passing of John Boslog. And he has highlighted here that John served on several boards and organizations, including the Planning and Zoning Commission, Water Department Board, President of Marion Chamber of Commerce, founding member of Medco Board, President of Indian Creek Country Club, President of Grandwood AEA Board for 10 years, and board member for 17 years, and former trustee of First United Methodist Church. So, someone who really served the community has passed.
Yeah, we've lost a real leader right there. That was amazing. Big shoes to fill. I want to tell you about today. I went to Linn-Mar Middle School and taught a class on history and philosophy Chinese philosophy, if you can believe it. I was assisted by the teacher. But here's what struck me. These kids in the 7th grade are taught things that I was taught in high school. They're already into algebra, for goodness sakes, in the 7th grade, and I didn't receive beginning algebra until high school. The way this class was presented and the interaction of the students, if you can imagine, raising their hands and answering all these questions without a prompt, was absolutely amazing. I can recall in my classes I always sat in the back and hid. These kids are aggressive. I am so pleased to see this in our schools. And again, we lease houses in Cedar Rapids, Marion, and the first question is, what school district are we in? And when we say Linn-Mar, that's exactly what they're looking for every time. So we're very proud, and I was just tickled to death to be there today with these kids. I was so enthused to see this happening, and I hope that we can keep this enthusiasm up throughout the high school years and then send them off to college. And I talked to 3 kids that were all going to be engineers. Now that's incredible. That's incredible. Off we go. So thank you. Have a good evening.